your guy Yonathon on the Gifted Gab. Pleasure to be here. Excited to get this conversation rolling. This is the first of many, so stay tuned.
It's been 2020 has been a wild year so far, man. There's a lot of shit going on.
Crazy.
Frig, what can you start with? COVID, Kobe, Pop Smoke, Black Lives Matter starting right now. A lot of tragedies, but there's a lot of good that's coming out of things too. A lot of people are being aware. A lot of the issues that were underlying before. Black Lives Matter, especially. That's one thing that I kind of wanted to bring you on because you have some experience with that. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you feel about Black Lives Matter?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of people are starting to recognize what Black Lives Matter movement's about, or just the fact that it even exists. So, biggest thing I can touch on is, I've always been motivated by the movement of unity from the beginning of like 2013 when they first were founded. I was living in the States at the time, so we were also seeing it firsthand and really close, like seeing it on TV while you're living out there. And then of course, fast forwarding to the Baltimore riots in 2015, I'm living back here in Canada and we don't really see too much coverage about it. And finally, I feel in 2020, like it's everywhere. Like everyone's starting to catch on and understand what people are fighting for. It's not just a movement. It's not just Black Lives Matter. It's actually a human rights problem.
It's an issue, yeah.
It's an issue. And, it's the biggest in history. Like 50 states all like fighting for the same thing.
That's crazy.
And on top of that, 18 different countries. Like who would ever thought like people in Japan have Black Lives Matter signs?
It's a worldwide thing.
In
it's
Palestine,
not just in the States. Palestine as well, yeah.
Palestine as well. So, I mean, this means a lot to me, especially right now, because I feel like we are so close to actually progression. Like we're so close to making a real difference instead of just seeing this, sharing it on Instagram, having, progressive dialogue with your friends. But now it's like we can walk in the streets and, hold signs, have our voices heard, talk with the great organizers of all the protests I've been a part of. And, the biggest thing we talk about, as I'm starting to get more involved over the last couple weeks, is a plan of action. And it's about what can we do now? We know the problems.
100%. We've been knowing the problems.
Yeah.
It's just about having, actionable demands or a set of criteria that we could reach to, that we can give to our leaders. But I kind of wanted to touch on like what you were saying before about like the support that's been behind Black Lives Matter. A lot of people been from all races been supporting it. My question is, you have a lot of people that are there. They're in the front lines, they're putting in the footwork. But do you feel like there's some that are there because they're coerced or because they're pressured into doing it? Or do you think some are there because they actually inherently feel like this is a racial injustice problem? And I think there's a fine line between the two. And I think that definitely needs to be discussed. And, you can be pressured into doing things, but how long will that support last? How long will that person feel, I don't know, guilty or maybe to continue the Black Lives Matter movement? Like, how do you feel about that?
100%. That's the thing, right? It's very hard to judge.
It's tricky.
Yeah, it's very hard to judge who's being genuine in their actions and what they're trying to do, part with this movement. And it's hard to see who will be down for the long haul, like who's ready to. It's not about ready to give up. It's about putting everything on the line for what you're doing, like for what you believe in. It's no longer just, I'm going to be active in sharing, or, I'm going to learn, I'm going to talk to my circle. It's about stepping in front of, a camera. It's about,
maybe stepping outside your comfort zone.
Yeah. Talking to people at your work, like talk to human resource management and be like, hey, like, let's have diversity be a main point of action in our company's, talent management or recruiting process. Like those things have to be discussed about, not just in your home, but like at work with your friends. Like you got to be willing to sacrifice how people are going to think of you, especially like you said, your comfort zone, and stand up for what's right. Like, just to bring it up, today I saw a video of a white man in Ohio. It was a small town in Ohio, and there was people outside gathering, I guess, a majority like white predominant group outside, just I guess, with the American flag and, just talking about America. And he was speaking up for Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
By himself. Like he didn't have a group of people with signs, with a megaphone. It was just him by himself. and he got punched in the head in front of the police, and they didn't do anything about it to stop it.
That's madness.
And it's crazy to me because it's like he's so brave, and it took that much strength to like stand up for what you believe in, but you got ridiculed by the people in your town and the police department who's there to serve and protect you.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like you have to be willing to take that kind of sacrifice if you really want to see a change.
That takes courage, man. And I think a lot of the things with Black Lives Matter is sometimes there's going to be people that are opposed to you. Sometimes there's going to be people that are against you. And it's important to say, okay, I believe in this. If I'm alone on this, I'm still going to believe in it.
100%.
But my biggest issue is just like that whole coercion, the pressure thing. I don't want people to look at this movement as a way to just to fit in a sense. You know what I'm saying? You have brands popping out with these new strategies like we just got here. You know, you seen the Band-Aid brand have the color
colors.
Complexion. Yeah, like,
or The Bachelor having their first black person.
that's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And those are things that I feel like are not done for the culture, but more for clout.
Yeah.
So they stay relevant in a sense.
And that's the hard thing, especially with your friends too. Like you see people who are now posting, right? And it's like, oh, I never seen them speak out about it. And then now, like, because it's trending, you know, everyone's talking about it, and you don't want to be on the other side. It's
the cool thing to do.
It's a cool thing to do,
Yeah.
but you also don't want to get backlash from not supporting something that's seemed as right.
Yeah.
So when we see those things, all we can do is be grateful that we're spreading awareness, be grateful that we're getting support from the people, but to also educate that like this isn't just for now.
Yeah.
Like these are,
not
and
a
that's why I
trend.
say plan of action, right? If we can implement a plan of action where people in the community are like, all right, it's not just about posting, it's not just about having the conversations. It's like, you know, let's sit down at city council meetings. Let's have, you know, meetings. Let's talk about laws to be in place against like harsher sentences for hate crimes.
Yeah, 100%. I think having the representation of us within those meetings is important. You can't do anything about us without us. How are you going to have policies that are geared towards us with none of us at the table? At the end of the day, the oppressed, or which is currently us, and you know, indigenous peoples that suffer a blunt portion of that, need to be at those round tables. We know what's best for us because we went through those things. We are being targeted. There's a lot of covert and overt racism in Canada. I want to get this whole thing clear. We have a foundation of racism in this country. It's huge. It may not be as big as the States. Maybe we kind of get brushed off as like the little brother, and it's not bad here, but it's prevalent here, and we're seeing it now more than ever.
And that's because of the media too, right?
Yeah.
Like it's about what's trending. And now that there's conversations on our media side now, and they're more involved, they're almost at all the protests. Like they're active now. But it's like,
where was this before?
Where was this before? We've been talking about this, right? But like we said before, it's the biggest civil rights movement of history in terms of what I've researched, and you know,
this is bigger than Million Man March, MLK, all that.
In terms of globally, like how many, like it's been in every single state, right? Like not density, but in terms of reach, like it's been some different states, 18 plus countries, and counting. So I mean, like it's not just for now, and the media knows that now.
Yeah,
like the media is here to cover everything.
Facts.
So I mean, it's hard for us being in Canada, looking at this now in the news and being like, we went through this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and we didn't have much support. But now it's not about us. Like, it's about the youth. It's like, now that we finally have the attention of the media, now that like people like us are in the streets protesting, it's for the youth to now have, you know, the support from us and then direct us in the right way.
100%.
It's about the future, you know?
100%. Just dialing back to that, what you were just saying, that this is the biggest civil rights or social rights, I guess you could say, initiative going on of all time. I think a lot of that has to do with social media.
Yeah.
And what I was saying before about, you know, it being trendy and people doing it for the trends, there's two sides to it. Because a lot of social media does is it spreads awareness. It gets countries like, you know, you're saying Japan and other places to support Black Lives Matter, but at the same time, some people might look at it as a trend. So there is definitely two sides, but I think it was Will Smith who said it's not that I don't know, I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but he said these things have been going on forever. We're just seeing it more now. So that's,
or it's being filmed.
Or it's being filmed. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, a lot of the tragic incidents, like George Floyd and other, you know, Breonna Taylor, others who have passed. It's tough to see, but without social media, I don't think we'd be knowing about this. I think it would have been swept under the rug. like so many countless others who didn't get documented and filmed. And I'm kind of glad that, you know, we're bringing more awareness now to it. It's tough. But yeah, Black Lives Matter is something that's here to stay. I don't want it to be a trend.
And what's so important to talk about, it's like, I know we bring up social media and the fact that it's here now and people are able to share, repost things so quickly, right? But it's the fact that non-Black people are so involved as they are is why I feel like the momentum is gaining.
Yeah, because it's not just us.
It's not just us. Like, it's no longer a fight about, you know, it's not black versus white. You know, it's about humans, everyone, against racism.
Yeah,
like, that no longer, that's not tolerable. You know what I'm saying?
That's a bar.
Yeah, and no, it's it's a bar, but it's the truth. Like, I'm standing beside, you know, white people, Asian people, like, you know, Asian, South Asian, like all types of different cultures, and they're yelling louder than me.
That's crazy.
You know, like, they're passionate about, you know, Black people being oppressed for so many years and not really having a voice. But now, like you said, where do we see the disparity? Is it genuine? Is it clout? Is it, you know, for acceptance? Is it like tribalism where you just want to be a part of a group? And now we have momentum. But now I think that's a responsibility on us to take, you know, those people who are here uniting with us and direct them to be like, look, you feel like you're seeing our pain. You know, we have sympathy from you. You know, you're here united with us. But now this is what we need you to do. And this is what we need all our people to do. Not just signing petitions. We need you to take this email. City officials need to be aware. Mayors need to be aware. Pressure them into making different laws to protect Black people. Yeah. Laws were created to protect people, but they didn't think about us when they were first created.
They're definitely excluding Black people, for sure. 100%. Yeah. There's a history of that. That's tough, man. You see, I'm glad you mentioned laws and the institutions that we, you know, constantly are within, education, just work, whatever. Just the way in which we operate within these institutions are embedded with racism. And I wanted to kind of talk about specifically almost the educational system and just within politics together. Have you ever ran into any occurrences of racism in the educational system? Because that's something that a lot of people have been talking about. Just with the lack of, I don't know, you could say the lack of Black history taught in schools, or the biases from teachers to Black students that occurred. And I mean, have you ever experienced something like that, or is that something?
Well, yeah, definitely things to touch upon is a month of, like, you know, just celebrating certain inventors is not enough.
It's 28 days. It's the shortest month of the year. Like, how does it doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't.
And even then, it's like, that's not even enough. Even if it was 2 months, like, it's not enough, because it's kind of separating history. Like, we're segregating history now.
I've never looked at it like that, but it's facts.
To be like, we just want Black History Month, or we just want to talk about Black people for this month. That's not okay with us, because we need to show the kids that this is Canadian history and Black people are involved. American history, like when I was living in the States, you know, they barely talked about slavery, and they barely talked about segregation, like Jim Crow laws, and barely talked about Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or any civil rights movement. They barely talked about it, you know? And to me, it was just eye-opening, because it's like, you know, half the class was Black, and no one, and it's just a shame to me to be like, I'm not given the opportunity to learn about African American history. I'm not given the ability to learn about, you know, the ancestors and, like, being oppressed and how they rose against it. You know, we're not given that opportunity. But like you said,
that's one thing that I'm glad you brought that up is being a member of the Get the Gab. We partnered with one of my friends actually in Edmonton. Her name is Sam. She's a teacher in Edmonton, but we've kind of came together to start a petition around anti-bias racism education and making that mandatory for post-secondary students and universities across, not even universities, but colleges as well too, across Canada. It's crazy because I've talked to my friends about this, but I can go to, you know, I go to University of Alberta, but I can go to U of A. I can learn about, you know, French history, Russian history, East Asian studies. You know what I'm saying? But when I want to learn about myself, it's not there. The option was never there. And I thought that was a big problem, because that representation in education is lacking. Even with, like you were saying, February, the month, education is lacking. A month, the shortest month of the year with 28 days, it just doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. And what doesn't make sense, sorry to cut you off.
No, you can go.
What doesn't make sense is, like, how we are praised for that month, but it's like we're not talked about as a collective. Like, we're not talked about as, like, you know, Martin Luther King was a huge influence on civil rights movement, and Lyndon B. Johnson was the president who signed off on these things, and like Congress as well. Like they collectively were starting to understand black people's perspective, and then it was like, that's American history. That's not black history. That is American history.
You can't, like you're saying, you can't separate the two.
Can't separate the two. And I feel like, students, like when we were young, we're starting to see the division of just February, and then we forget about it in March. There's too many different factors where, like for example, spring break or whatever, right after February, and kids are like, okay, back to your regular schedule, back to being, a regular kid. And it's like, no, we want you to know that like your skin color matters in this society. Like your people had a part in shaping Canadian history. So now that we're able to like teach you like every single year, like you're saying, it's not, and like you said, it's not just college. I don't want it to be an elective, like,
it should be mandatory.
It should be mandatory, like earlier on. And I was talking to someone from like the Toronto District School Board, and I've actually reached out to the Ontario Ministry of Education to try to somehow at least have the conversation to bring up that African history needs to be implemented with Canadian history.
Agreed.
Black history, sorry.
Agreed.
So, I mean, I feel like with the support that we're getting nowadays with social media, people signing petitions.
Oh yeah, it's big.
It's huge.
Social media is big.
Hopefully that helps education, because that's gonna shape our future, man. Like
I've always thought racism started at home with education. It'll end with education as well too.
I believe that it's huge, man, because everyone is having their own like perspective on the fight.
Yeah.
Because this is a fight when education, the law, police. And I feel like you said, starts with education and it'll end with education.
Everything is crazy. This is just, it's kind of not off topic, but just a fun fact. Not even a fact. This is just his perspective. Basically, the way our government, I could say, has run is, there's definitely some racist principles or oppressive principles towards black people in there. And this is the example we used, and it kind of blew my mind. If you look on Eglinton Avenue, what are the main businesses there?
Eglinton West, right?
Eglinton West.
Yeah. It's like, I think they called it Little Jamaica.
Little Jamaica, a predominantly black area, right?
Yes.
How long has construction been going on there for?
Since I can ever remember.
Exactly. I think it's been about 10, 11, 12 years.
Yeah.
Having a major construction project around those areas will definitely prohibit traffic from getting there. Definitely influences the flow of traffic and the ability for people to get there.
Yeah.
So looking at that, it's like, okay, if it takes 12 years to fix this road, why does it take 1 year to fix a road up in North York or downtown, wherever? Doesn't matter. But in my eyes, there's no way a road should take that long to fix. Yeah. Wherever you go, come on, let's be real.
Toronto construction is a different level.
It's a different level, though. It definitely is a different level. Maybe there's more to it that I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
But just looking at it from my perspective, there's something fishy going on there. Definitely something fishy going on there that I just thought it's not right. It's not right for sure. So
I like the fact that you brought up, that black community in Eglinton West. Because just conversations I've had with different black organizers in the protests is that we don't really have like a community, like a black community.
Yeah.
Like, there's Greektown, and that's, everyone knows about that. Yeah. There's Little Italy. Like you see different areas where it's like, all right, they have their culture here, or in Markham. But like, if you look at the map, we're so spread out. Like we're in Scarborough, like, we're in Mississauga, like we're in the Mississauga protests, and
that was bumping, very, very powerful.
Very powerful, and there was a lot of black support that was there, and I feel like once we're able to realize that, once I think Malcolm said it, I can't remember. It's like once we realize like we're black and realize that like we're obligated to be in this fight, and we have a cultural obligation to see, the empowerment of our people. That's when we're gonna start forming our own communities.
Facts.
Because once we form our own community, like we're now united. We get the ball rolling.
That's the most powerful thing. I remember, I don't know the name exactly, but it was a powerful U.S. leader. He was in government, and he said the most fearful thing is seeing unification among black people.
Yes.
That's the most fearful, powerful thing that could happen. And that's something that definitely needs to happen. Not only with the support for Black Lives Matter, but even economically too. Having our own dollar within our community, having us become more economically strong is important. There's a page called Black Dollars TO. It's on Instagram. I don't know if you follow it, but it's definitely I'll probably include the link somewhere around this
Yeah.
here, but it's basically a page that promotes black businesses
Yes.
across the GTA. And this is just a fun fact within the Asian community, a dollar lasts 17 days approximately. Within the Jewish community, it lasts 14, and within the black community, it lasts 6 hours.
Wow.
So
that's in Toronto?
That's I think it's worldwide. I think it's worldwide. Don't quote me on that, but that's the stats that I'm hearing.
I heard about that in the U.S.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And just seeing those numbers, it's like we're the only community to get a paycheck and spend it right on Gucci.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No one gets their paycheck and goes straight to the Caribbean spots or the African. Like, it doesn't make. There's a discrepancy there. There's definitely
100%. 100%. And the stats prove it that black people have a huge purchasing power. I was trying to get stats on that in Canada, but in the U.S., it's $1.2 trillion, I believe, or $1.7 trillion purchasing power annually. So, and like our community is a high consumer Mercedes-Benz. We're the number one consumer Mercedes-Benz. And it's like we're number one consumers in, I believe, certain alcohol brands. And it's like just certain things like you said.
Hennessy.
Hennessy
gotta be on it. Not a Hennessy? Oh.
I can't speak on that. I definitely don't know. But like, just to go back to your point was we're so quick to spend our paycheck on what's trending, what's popping. And now I feel like with this movement, now there's pages like there's a black-owned page on Black-Owned TO on Instagram. And there's different pages now trying to get more light. And it's like now we're trying to get recognition for like our clothing brands, get recognition for our food spots. You know, like people love our culture. People love our food. People love our music. People love the way we dance. So support us.
It's facts.
So support us. And then our own people need to support us as well, like you said. And the moment that you realize that like your skin is your obligation is the moment you're going to realize how much power you have together. And I feel like...
I think it's about like, for me personally, I've been trying to make more conscious efforts to supporting black businesses. And I think a lot of other people have been doing it too as well. I will look for some food spots and I'm like, damn, this is really convenient, but is it black? You know what I'm saying? And I don't want this perception to be let's shop or circulate our dollar for black-owned businesses to like punish other communities. That's not what we're trying to do. Is to strengthen ours.
Yes.
And strengthen ours alone. This is not a battle of like you were saying, white versus black or whatever. It's a battle of combating racism and promoting equality. That's in all factors, economically, and just socially as well too. So,
100%. Especially when you realize companies like H&M, when they put out a T-shirt,
it's stupid with
coolest monkey in the jungle, and people will still shop there like after it dies down. But it's like we need more resources, and I believe they're out there. As I've started researching the last couple of weeks, there's resources where you can see like where your company's like, I guess, political views are, or like,
oh really?
Yeah, there's different ones. Like, don't quote me on it. I know they just came out with one that support Donald Trump. Like the Houston Rockets owner is he does funding for Trump's campaign. And I mean, that's all on you. It's not about political views again. It's just about, do your morals align with the company's morals, right? Like, we can talk about, child labor, in different countries. And then, that just starts a whole nother discussion. But in terms of right now, the empowerment of black people is important because it keeps our dollar within our community. It, I guess it empowers or influences others to do the same, like entrepreneurship. It's now trending, right? But like, if we're able to teach the youth how we were able to become entrepreneurs, how we're able to start our own businesses, that's when our community will flourish.
But all we see on TV is just the only way you can be successful is through sports or rap, or the main avenues that I see, at least.
That's a narrative that we can change.
That we definitely can change.
Why not politics?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. I think what we were talking about before, like what's trendy, we should start making those trends.
Yes.
It's not a bad thing to be a politician. It's not a bad thing to work in wherever. Like, there needs to be this narrative that changes from just sports and rap, and you can be successful doing a lot of other things. Yeah,
it's just about what are you willing to sacrifice for like the betterment of your people, right?
Facts.
Because it's not like you have to become a doctor, or it's not like you have to become a politician, but it's like it's the fact that our kids know that they can become that. Yeah, like you said, all we see is the opportunity. All we see is dribbling a basketball or behind the mic. Like, you can do so much more than what the media is telling you or society is telling you to do.
And don't get me wrong, playing basketball and music, those are two outlets that a lot of us can relate to.
Huge, yeah.
It definitely saved us from a lot of things that we would have been exposed to. So those are definitely avenues that I can't even be more thankful for. Because,
definitely not.
Me and you could relate for sure, especially on that. But there is more opportunities. There's more opportunities with a lot of things that need to be explored for sure within our community. That's definitely lacking. So
it's just finding your way,
Yeah.
and then having resources. Like the biggest thing I advocate is resources in terms of kids knowing that they can do these different things, knowing that like Toronto Public Library has like certain hubs in different libraries where they can 3D printing. They have 3D printing. They have a hub where you can have recording studio, and there's different things that are available to the kids. It's just about how accessible are those resources to you in your community.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what's most important.
Speaking on resources, there's a whole debate going on about police defunding. What's your take on that? I gotta hear this.
Yeah. Police defunding is being widely used in terms of like Black Lives Matter protests and any Black empowerment organizations, especially in Toronto. My take on it is it's a touchy area because the budget is publicly accessible, but we as a public, as a community, want to see better use of that money. And if for so many years we've been asking for I don't know, some people are advocating for body cameras, some people are advocating for more community relationships with the police departments, whichever region you're in. And since we had not seen money used in our favor and it's our tax dollars, people are demanding for police to be defunded. What's the point of me paying my tax dollars if I'm always a suspect when I'm leaving my house?
Doesn't make sense. We're paying to be targeted.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
And we're giving our money, and we should have more say in where our tax dollars goes. And since we are usually victimized for hate crimes in our community, victimized with police brutality, depends on where you're living, but I feel like we have a chance to speak out and try to shift where the money can go.
Do you sorry to interrupt? Do you think it would be more beneficial to have more Black police officers? Although even the police system is inherently racist, do you think that would make a difference?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
It's a systemic problem that has been ingrained in that system from since it was created. If people want to look it up, they'll realize how the police system was created and why it was created. And not to touch too much on it, but I feel like we need to have community representatives that are having that dialogue with the police on how to work with the community, right? Like having a Black officer isn't going to change how I feel about the police
100%.
system.
Yeah.
I feel like, having a community relationship where it's the people can talk to people from the police or have a representative from the police who works with the community and for our benefit, that will make me feel better about how I view the police. So yes, taking a 10% cut from the Toronto Police Services or any police services in our GTA, if that can go towards housing and community or
social services,
mental health, it's weighs a lot on me because I feel like police is the last step. That 911 call is the last step.
100%.
And I feel like there's so much more preventative measures, such as having a Black guidance counselor representing or talking to Black students where they can actually have personal conversations that feel like they are represented and heard, I think, and relatable. And then also having access to mental health physicians where it's like, if I have problems that I'm experiencing, and racism can take a toll on your mental health.
Facts.
So if I feel like I'm experiencing racism in school and I have a guidance counselor who can refer me to a mental health physician where I get the help that's needed and it's not affecting my parents' pockets, I feel like that will help me transition better through life and maybe prepare me for encounters with the police. That is a preventative measure that needs to be focused on first, not last.
Yeah, definitely. We need to be more proactive than reactive. I think relatability is key. Having people in places of power that look like us is key. We just talked about it before earlier, but like a Black guidance counselor. I remember this is probably middle school. I was a bad youth, man. I was in middle school and I thought one teacher was targeting me. I really did. And there'd be times where the whole class would laugh. I would laugh, but she'd be like, "Oh no, Andre, what are you doing?" Oh, go to the office. I'm like, okay, fuck. We got to do this again. But we had a guidance counselor at that time, and she really helped me transition through those experiences and helped me to see things from a different light. But she also allowed me to relate to her in the sense where, like, we're black, we're gonna experience things differently than some other people. But like you were just saying, social services, having people in places of power is important that look like us.
100%.
It's extremely important. So.
100%. And some people, like, because it's not like out of sight, out of mind, you don't see certain things of why a kid acts out a certain way.
Facts.
You don't understand where that kid is coming from. And like something that I was reading on, like, different mental health institutions here in Toronto, they were saying that there's some evidence that indicates indigenous and black populations that are overrepresented in the justice system when it comes to violent crimes and victimization. They're saying that some researchers have argued that it's the social conditions that indigenous and black Canadians live through that can contribute to why the rate of violence is high in their communities.
That makes sense.
And why they go through certain things. And why it kind of like contributes to how when they act out in class, or maybe temper issues, or different things like that obviously I'm not a mental health physician, I can't speak on, but like we have to understand the root of the problem, right? And how police treat the community is a part of that problem.
There's a lot of tension within our community that needs to get addressed before police address it.
100%.
But it's tough, man. It's tough. This racism thing is tough.
It's huge, man, and it's taxing on everyone. And I always stress, like, please unplug from social media.
Balance is key. I feel like we're in a battle between fighting racism together and taking breaks. And it's about not feeling guilty to take breaks. It's okay.
It's okay. You don't want to burn out. That's the number one thing.
Because we're going to need you at the end of the fight. Definitely.
No,
definitely.
100%.
But yeah, with social media and everything, we're always surrounded by new information, new content. Oh, what happened here? What happened there? But I even find myself needing to take breaks from time to time because my mental health will be affected.
100%.
Definitely. So, yeah.
And that's only going to counteract what we're trying to do.
Facts only make things worse. Exactly. So, yeah, this 2020 has been a mess, man.
Yeah, man.
It's been a mess.
Yeah, some huge things I was talking to you about before was trying to coordinate some type of union amongst different black organizations, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement in Toronto. Well, I saw in Hamilton, spoken to people at Mississauga.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I always want to like try to take away from everything is tell people that like there's always a next step to this fight, and by uniting all of our black organizations to work together on this forefront, have representatives of different region and all meet at a round table where we can talk about racial issues, but also a progressive plan of action, right? And if we can work with older black organizations who have been in this fight, who can guide the youth, because there's a lot of energy on the youth right now. So if we can try to work together, sit down at city council meetings, present ideas that we have with Ontario Ministry of Education, present ideas that we have, work with city council to put laws in place to protect us. I feel like if I can somehow create that union or work with people like different organizations where we can create a union, I feel like this fight will have the momentum it needs until it sees changes made. So.
And now's the time more than ever.
Yeah.
Not that I want to say it's a trend, but a lot more eyes are on this matter that we should definitely be taking advantage of to implement such policies.
Yeah, like we can't stand by anymore and watch it.
Hell no. Yeah.
And people always ask, like, why are we at the marches or why are you being so active now? It's not just brand new. Like, we've been experiencing this, but now that we're able to have a bigger platform, we're able to do more, which is why I've chosen to like speak out more, which is why I've chosen to try to unite more organizations.
I see you, man. I see you. Talk a little bit about your protest before we wrap this up. I just wanted to hear a little bit about your protests that you have coming up.
So we created a protest in Vaughan with a collective called Vaughan We Stand. Pretty much we are discussing like hate crimes in our community, interactions with the police, education system as well. Needs to be more representation of our black people. And this is for the Vaughan community. This does spread throughout the GTA, but we're directing focus on Vaughan right now. And we will be protesting June 19th at 6 p.m. outside of District 4 Police Station. It's by Rutherford and Jane. We will be leading the rally there, discussing some of our personal stories of racism in society, the workplace, education, and then we will be rallying to Vaughan Mills, where we'll have speakers from different organizations. One is parents of black children. They're active in education system, implementing different rules to help black people and their black kids. There will be other speakers with a short, I think it's a spoken word. It's different poems.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be doing that June 19th,
That's
this
big.
Friday.
That's
yeah,
big.
So it's just the first step.
Yeah, just the first step. But
first
you're
step.
continuing with this initiative, with this movement that definitely needs to be taken. But
Yeah, man.
we got to start somewhere.
Gotta start somewhere, man. And you know, this is just the beginning. Like this
Yeah.
is just one of the angles that trying to help support. Hopefully the union idea will come to fruition where it's like a we stand union and many people on the same forefront want to work together. That's the aim. We all want to see the right things happen.
Definitely,
you know?
definitely.
It's just about coming together, using our voices as one, and then hopefully we see the right changes made in society.
Well,
So
Yonathon, I'm glad we can come together
Yeah,
and
no,
discuss
finally,
these
yeah.
things. These are important. I've been talking about this with you for some time now. It's well overdue.
Yes,
This
way overdue,
this
man.
podcast with you. But again, I'm glad you can come on, talk about such issues because these are important and they're not trends.
No.
They're not trends. These are here to stay. So
yeah, Mr. One Love T.O. said it best.
Yes,
Tyrone
sir.
Rex. He said, "My trauma is not a trend."
facts.
So
Facts. Shout out to him, man. So
yeah,
on that note, man, we're out.
we're out.